Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Saturday of Zoom Networking. And we are really blessed and honored to have a phenomenal young lady as our guest speaker today. She's one of the rising rock stars out of the Sub-2 community, Pace Morby Sub-2 community. And if you've watched the YouTube, if you've been on these calls, you've heard me talk about Pace Morby. He is the absolute genius nationally. That means internationally for creative finance in the country and in the world. His Sub-2 community is the premier #1 real estate education platform in the country, bar none. And as we usually are, we're very honored to have on some of Pace's rock stars. The young lady today is an expert in hospitality. She's a brand reputation expert, short-term rentals. She's a mom. She's a businesswoman. She's an entrepreneur, successful real estate investor, and my good friend, Marta Miner. Marta, how are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you, JJ. I just love you. I love what you're building. I love your community, your heart, like how dedicated you are, like how selfless you are. I'm just really privileged to be here with you and all of you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I promise I'm going to deliver some value, especially coming straight from the mastermind. I left the mastermind to be here. So I want to share with you guys like what I'm learning. And I got to see Dean Graziosi deliver a speech today. So I'm going to share that with you guys. I'm just pumped to be here and like share with you guys, because not all of you are able to be in the room today with Pace Morby, Vina Jetty, Dean Graziosi, but I'm bringing it freshly. It's still warm,
Yeah, just to let you guys know, like right now, this very moment, as we're recording this, Marta is at Pace Morby's mastermind in Phoenix. And she stepped away from the event to grace us with her presence and her presentation or being a guest today. But as she said, you were at Pace's house.
Well, I was at Pace's house, was it yesterday? Yes, 2 days ago. Yeah.
I saw the photos.
Yes, it was just so fun. He's such a gracious host too, because to invite that many people to the house and host them and just let them roam free through the house. I'm like, wow, that he's a better man than I am.
There you go. Yeah.
Because it was amazing. It was fun to see his recording room and like how the magic actually happens. It's pretty powerful and very special to be part of his journey. Just watching him, grow and everything. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, Pace is truly a wonderful person. So now, obviously, you're not sitting right in the mastermind. For those that don't know, where in the country are you located yourself?
Me?
Yeah, where do you live in the country?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. So the mastermind is actually taking place in Scottsdale. Usually it's in Tempe, but I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
If you don't know where she's at, this young lady is in the Phoenix proper area. And, that allowed you to, I guess, for those that didn't get in early, you were able to be in the area to attend the meetup at Pace's house, which was great. So really, really quickly, you and I met through Sub-2.
Yeah.
And we're both Sub-2 students. We met at the mastermind in January and wanted to be at this one that you're at now, but, circumstances happen. But that allows us to be here. For those that don't know, we'll just talk about this for a second because the whole call is going to be about you. What is Pace's mastermind about? We can even talk about that for a moment. I mean, you're at the mastermind. Yeah. Dean Graziosi was there. For people that don't know, what is the mastermind? Maybe who's Dean Graziosi?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, to start with, what is the mastermind? If you are in Pace Morby's community, you're obviously learning about subject to and real estate investing. And mastermind is a place where you come in when most of the time when you start running into problems, you want to scale your business, you want to get to know people on the same path. When you're really doing bigger things, I actually came into my first mastermind when I wasn't even doing many big things yet, but I just wanted to be around that energy of people that are doing amazing things. They already have their businesses, they're going, they're rolling, they're scaling up. Pace gives so much of himself to the mastermind students. Like he just opens the door and he shares everything. There's absolutely nothing he holds back, So being in that community, I feel like is honestly a privilege, but a right decision for anybody who is in his community. Eventually, if you really want to do big things, you have to go to the mastermind. There's a lot of things that he shares with us and opportunities he gives to mastermind students way before he gives them to the community. It's a group of people that are pretty much like-minded. My first mastermind, I've made such amazing friendships and relationships. And even the second one with you, JJ, actually that second one, I've felt like I've met a lot of like high level people versus the first one. I met a lot of friends in the community that we support each other. We love each other through hard times, through personal life and business. It's just a place where I feel like I can make mistakes and I can still thrive and I can still be, picked up by my community if something doesn't work, or if I'm doing something silly and they're not going to judge me for it. They know I'm trying.
Well, and we were talking about that earlier before we started recording, but the real key to networking is putting yourself out there so that we as investors to put ourselves out there. And a lot of times that means being in the room. There's a phrase Pace uses, being in the room. Whether it's a breakout room, whether it's a live event, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's a picnic, right? But to be in the room around other investors so you could actually meet them and shake their hand and get to know them, that is so, so powerful. And ideally, you want to be there so that you could find people that you connect with. You resonate with them. They go, wow, I love that lady. And hopefully the resonance goes both ways. But when you found, and for those that are watching, what's going to truly escalate your business is the 5 people you surround yourself with. And when you start to network, as Marta was talking about, and meeting people and meeting successful people, like on the mastermind in January where she and I met, there were rock stars all over the place. And when you start to build relationships with these people, you will feel yourself starting to scale up your life. You just feel it, and the people you surround yourself will dictate your course. If you're around successful people, you're going to succeed. If you're around losers, you're going to fail. And being at a mastermind is a phenomenal opportunity. A year and a half ago, there were 1,200 investors when I started. Now there's 10,000. But Marta's back now for her 3rd mastermind. That must be really exciting. Tell us about Dean Graziosi. What was that like?
Yeah, Dean, oh my gosh, I just posted on my Facebook because it was very special for me, because when I was, before I even met Pace, I was in a coffee shop randomly one day and I ran into Dean Graziosi, and it was such a amazing, like a token of faith that things are heading in the right direction. I was so confused with real estate and like which direction to go. Am I going to be successful at it or not? Like I have so much experience in real estate, but I've never done sub 2, and it was like an uphill battle. I didn't know how to really bite this. And I remember Dean showed up and I just felt like, oh my gosh, this is like a little like an omen, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's just telling me like, keep going, you're going in the right direction. I'm like, if I'm attracting people like Dean to come into the same coffee shop as I am in to do his meeting, like it just felt very special for me. And yesterday I'm sitting at the mastermind and I didn't know he was coming. And Pace is like, don't be late tomorrow morning. We have a special guest. And then it turns out it's Dean Graziosi, which to me, it's just such an amazing thing to be able to, when you get on your path. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about what Dean was sharing. Who is Dean? Dean is a real estate investor, and he's been investing for, I don't know how long, since he was in his 20s, I believe. He was telling us that back in the day, he actually had to put up infomercials because he's like, you guys have it easy right now. You can post on Facebook. You can create your course digitally online. I had to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to get customers to sell my courses because there was no such thing as the internet at that time. He had to do infomercials on TV. His whole family was against that idea. They're like, you're losing your mind, dude. Like, this is not the way to go. Like, and he still persevered and he went for it and he became successful. To me, he's more of like a motivational, inspirational teacher and mentor. He works closely with Tony Robbins as well, who's another one of like, powerhouses that I learned so much from. So, and he's such a gentle soul, such a sweet, kind human being. He had a very tough childhood. He spoke about it today. I didn't even know that about him. But when people go through tough things, especially in their youth growing up, like they have a lot of empathy and love for others, you know, because if you make it through it, like you feel it is your goal in life and duty to help others, you know. So it comes through very easily when you listen to him that he definitely is out there to help other people. But do you want me to tell everybody what he shared? Because this applies perfectly to, I don't know if everybody here is in real estate investing, but just about any business, really.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I mean, Dean Graziosi is amazing. I've seen him speak at the Clever Summit. Just such a nice, genuine guy. And you know, if you got something from that and you think it's powerful, we're sharing, share away. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share with you guys, we all know, but just the way he spoke about it, like really, really, you know, touched my heart. So I will share with you guys because he started his speech with saying that you can either have a very easy and comfortable life right now and never get out of your comfort zone, and you're going to be in the same spot 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, or you can make it harder for yourself right now just so you can have it easy later. So putting in all that hard work, you know, whatever we're doing, building businesses, putting ourselves on social media, doing things that are uncomfortable, require work, long hours, all of that will eventually pay off in you feeling like you are in your life purpose. You are fulfilling the goals that you've set for yourself, for your family, for the society, for other people that you can help. And he's like, unless you get out of your comfort zone, which I always believe in that, you will never gain the confidence to do the big things in life. He said, as the second you start going on a path, let's say you start investing in real estate, problems will start coming to you right away. So a lot of people say, I don't want problems. I just want to run as far away from problems. And he's like, you don't want to avoid the problems. You want to learn how to handle those problems, because the further you go in life, the bigger the problems are. They're just become different types of problems. But Pace even chimed in and he's like, yeah, you know, when I start growing, I'm just thinking, what else is coming? A lawsuit, you know, maybe for us, we're not at that level to experience lawsuits yet. Or you have one already. You're big time, you know? But a lot of us are trying to avoid the uncomfortable. We are trying to avoid like problems. Like, I don't want problems, right? But he's like, the more of them you get at the beginning of your journey, especially, the better you get at handling those problems and coming up with solutions to those problems. And he says, which I 100% believe in, is that confidence really comes from overcoming your own like issues that you may have, right? Your fears, you know, for example, for me, like I hated posting on social media because like I didn't want to be visible. Like I had a thing from childhood. I just didn't want to be visible. But I'm like, I will never accomplish my goals unless I get comfortable with that, you know? And for all of us, it's something different. Somebody can be like it's easy for them to post on social. They don't want to go to maybe networking event, or they're scared to borrow money, or, you know, or become a lender. Like it's different for everybody in real estate. But unless you do the uncomfortable things, you will never reach your goals, because you're always in like warm, comfy clothes, like those sweatpants, you know, that they stretch with you. And you're like, no, put yourself in those skinny jeans. Like you have to get out of that comfort zone. And he's like, what is courage? Because he talked a lot about courage. He's like, courage is not feeling the fear. You feel the fear and you go for it anyway. That's when you become courageous in your business, your personal life. You know, he spoke a lot about his failed marriage. His first marriage didn't work because he did not put the time and energy and didn't do the hard things that it takes to maintain a marriage, right? Second time around, he knew better. He's like, I hired coaches. I read relationships books. Like I'm in it to win it. And a lot of us say we want a good marriage, we want success in our business, but are we doing the things that will create that?
You know, Marta, this is all from Dean, correct? Not from Pace.
This is all Dean.
Yeah. Okay.
This is all Dean. I'm going to wrap it up really quickly, but I just wanted to share that because he said one more thing that really hopefully resonates with you guys. Imagine yourself being 95, 98, 100 years old, and you transitioned and met your creator and whatever your belief system is, right? And you ask, like for me, it's God. And God asks me, like, what would you like to do again if you had a chance? What regrets do you have? And then at that point, you realize like, wow, so many unfulfilled dreams, so many things I was scared to do, so many things that I was just like, well, I don't know what my friends are going to think about it, or what my cousin or what friend from high school is going to think if I do this thing. And most people would say my biggest dream would be to go back to that place, let's say in my 30s, where I felt like, or 40s or whatever time in your life that you felt you were going to do something and you didn't do it. And then he says, okay, your wish is granted. You are there right now. What are you going to do? What are some, because right now we're all in that space where we still have an opportunity. We're still walking and talking and have opportunity to change our life, right? 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, it will be too late. You know, you're going to run out of time and you may not have the energy. So he's like, do the things that kind of like in the back of your mind are telling you like, I am meant for that. I really would want to try that. Like, obviously we're scared of the unknown. You're always going to be scared, but you don't want to come to the end of your life and have these regrets. Like, I wish I could go back. You can't go back, you know, right now is the time. So it really resonated. People stood up and they shared, you know, a lot of people cried after that. And, you know, it's just like, when is the time? The time is now to go ahead and do those things that you wish.
That's one of my favorite sayings. The time is now. You know, it's funny when you talk about getting out of our comfort zone and doing infomercials versus using social media now. And I say this all the time. If you guys are on the call right now, listening live, or whether you're watching later on YouTube, as Pace says all the time, get your friggin' phone out, get it in front of you, do a video and post it on your own page, post it to my group, post it to Sub 2, but do it. And I don't want to do a video. Well, you know, when you post it, don't even worry about it, because in the beginning, no one's going to see it, because originally you don't have a lot of following. You're not going to have traction if you're not using social media to begin with. Mm-hmm. So your first post is not going to be that good.
Yeah, but if you never try, right? If you never try with the first really sucky post, you're never going to get better at it.
Exactly.
The first 10 will be really bad, and eventually you get to figure out.
They become good. They become good. The more you do them, the better they get. The more you do them, the more traction you get. So I always challenge you guys in my group. We'll talk about that later if you're on the call. But the importance of doing those, you know, videos. Marta, I wanted to kind of shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
Our guest speaker today is a young lady from Poland. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk a little bit about you and about your story. You know, now you're one of the, you know, successful, highly revered and respected women in Sub 2. Your people know your name before they know you. You have your brand, you know, you're out there, you're visible, and you're highly respected.
But it hasn't always been that way.
No, like, you know, so, you know, let's get back to your youth. When you were in your teens, maybe in your 20s, and we move sometimes from city to city or state to state, or maybe in your case, country to country. But from your growing up as your teens, and we talked about this a little bit, from as a young person being involved with travel and how you were introduced. But what's been your experience with, say, short-term rentals or real estate in general? Has real estate investment always been something you wanted to do, or did it kind of naturally happen? So for those that don't know you, what has been your journey, maybe from your youth experience of real estate and short-term to your 20s, or your teens and your 20s to today?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, like I grew up in Poland. I grew up during communism. So it was very different times. And it's funny because you don't know that you don't have certain things until you are older and compare. So I thought it was normal to be in communist country and not have toys, not have toilet paper, stand in line with my grandma to pick up like rations of food. Like I thought that's normal. You know, everybody has it. Until later when things change, I'm like, oh, wow, that was probably tough, you know, but so that was kind of my upbringing. But from very early on, I think my family had a passion for travel, and we didn't have any money. So we traveled on a budget, and I started really early from as far as, I mean, I maybe 3, maybe they took me earlier, but my first memories are of me, being by the Baltic Sea in Poland and renting a tiny little 1-bedroom with the whole family and staying at somebody's property and just having an amazing vacation. We didn't have money to get a hotel or anything nice, so that I remember sometimes there was mold on the wall. Like I still remember that right now, but we did still travel, right? So I remember the short-term rental model of how people understand now Airbnb being that, like I've known that since I remember. I don't know any other world. So I've always traveled, and the travel as a short-term rental host or even a guest has changed quite a bit because it evolved to eventually VRBO. Now they call it VRBO, vacation rentals by owners. So I remember I adopted that model really early on before people even understood. I was like, that's really cool. I had a little bit more money. I could travel with friends. And eventually, as my career progressed and I started investing in real estate, I got a corporate job. I was successful. I got to test out different style of Airbnb, a little bit more luxurious. I also traveled a lot and stayed at different hotels because I was a sales manager and I traveled quite a bit, like twice a week. I stayed in hotels or Airbnbs. So I got to see every aspect of it. I got to see, 1-bedroom, tiny little place. I got to travel as a business person. I traveled with family, with friends, with big family, like, 4 stepkids, my little daughter. I traveled with in-laws. So I've been in every kind of rental. And I've also seen how the industry has changed of short-term rentals. And because my degree is in hotel management and hospitality, I also see that aspect. So I see it from so many angles as a traveler, as a hospitality expert, as a person that has seen like the progress and change over the years because I've observed this, I've participated in it. So what I do to help other hosts is first of all, I do a lot of like audits to help people maximize their listing and maximize like potential of their properties. Secondary, I really love talking about hospitality aspect of short-term rentals, boutique hotels, or just hotel industry in general, because I'm noticing like, unfortunately, the degradation of customer service and hospitality aspect in everything. I mean, go to any restaurant or anywhere, and you kind of see that it's all changed. It's not back in the day. Like I was trained by like an old school hotelier, somebody who was trained professionally to like cater to guests' experiences.
Was your training by the hotelier, was that in Poland before you came to the States or afterward? After you came to
It was after I moved here.
Okay.
I studied in Poland like foreign trade market and shorthand writing and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to use that in my life. But okay. Moved to America and I had to start college from scratch all over again. I didn't get any credits. They didn't transfer. I think I got 1 credit for English class. I'm like, thank you. That's amazing. So I did college twice. And when I started college, that's just to kind of go backwards, I didn't speak any English. So I wish I kept these books because they would be so valuable now, but I had to translate everything from English to Polish and then memorize everything in English, but at least I'm understanding what I'm studying here. I had to memorize and pass the test with kind of just memorizing the words. Thank God in America, you guys have multiple choice and true, false. In Poland, no such thing exists. We write essays for everything, whether it's history or math or whatever, it's essays. It's not multiple choice. So I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for the shortcuts. Like you guys have it easy here. Okay, I can just memorize and just check the answers, So yeah, I did learn hospitality here in America, and I've always had somewhat of a passion for it. I think hospitality is done differently in Poland, in Europe in general. Just to give you guys an example, like when you go to a McDonald's in Poland, it looks like a kind of a high-end restaurant. Like I just can't believe it. I always go and record. I'm like, this is not McDonald's. Like there's no way. And like you go to like a restaurant at the airport. I was waiting for somebody once and I was at the airport. I'm like, let's just go to McDonald's. And they have a coffee shop that's like a high-end, beautiful coffee shop. I think it's called Mac Cafe. I don't think we have that in America. Maybe we do. I've never seen it.
No.
And they serve you with like beautiful silverware and napkins and bring the coffee to your table. They have espressos and all of that. And I'm like, are we at McDonald's? Because that's not how McDonald's is in America, you know? But that's how it is in Europe. Like everybody gets treated pretty much high level, you know? Like you get the special treatment because you're in a restaurant and you're a paying customer. And I feel like,
Marla, let me ask you, when you came to the States and you started learning from the hotelier, now, were you doing this full time right away, or was this part time, or was there a point, have you always been doing this full time, or was there a transition somewhere along the way for you?
yeah, so my dream was to work for like a beautiful Marriott resort on the beach somewhere in Hawaii. So that's why I got into hospitality. I always loved, I don't know, I had a connection with Marriott brand. So I wanted to study that and be in the hotel industry. And then I started working in the hotel industry and I realized, let me think about it for a second. You only work weekends, nights, holidays, all the times that your friends are off, you're working. And I was kind of like, I don't think that's for me. I like the idea of it, but I just didn't like the hours. So I transitioned out of that into a sales career because first of all, like I needed more money, and working in a hotel, I was like, that's a long path. It's not going to ever happen. You know, I would have to become like a regional of something. Like it's not enough money.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the industry. So then did you get your real estate license at all anywhere along the way?
No, I was never a real estate
Agent?
I went actually, my story, like I always tell Pace, like I've lived at least 7 lives. That's minimum, at least as many as cats live, probably more. I can't even list all my career choices, but I'll just give you a couple of them that shaped who I am. And one of them was enterprise rent-a-car. As crazy as it sounds, this was the best training that I've ever received in sales and just like building quick relationships with people. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's a boot camp that every college student should go through. Like, I don't know if enterprise is the same as it was back when I went there, but you think enterprise is a rental car company. It's not. It's a sales company to sell you insurance. That's what it is. And, and I moved up really quickly and I understood like how to care, because what is the goal of enterprise? You pick up a customer and in a very quick few minutes, as you're driving them to the location of your rental, company, you have to develop close enough relationship that they feel comfortable buying insurance from you. So it was fast relationship. I had to learn fast, building relationships fast. I had to learn one more thing. Let me go backwards. One thing. Yeah. Why I'm so good in hospitality and understanding other people and their needs is because I came from Poland without knowing the language, knowing the culture, knowing how to do taxes, knowing how to, I had to have somebody take me to the dentist because I didn't know how it all works. I didn't know anything. I was completely like a baby that somebody had to take care of. So I'm like, I can't function like this. I was successful in Poland. Like, I cannot be this burden to somebody. So I started observing and I got really good observing other people and observing how the culture works, how this country works. What does it mean when I talk to you this way and you react to me this way? I know what you're thinking because I had to learn almost sign language. I couldn't speak. I couldn't understand you. I had to rely on your facial expressions, your body language. So I learned people and skills very quickly. At Enterprise, it just kind of speeded up even further because you have to do it fast and it's all about sales. If you're not good at sales, bye, we don't want you. So I learned really high level, being able to connect with a person very quickly and find a way how to sell them something without feeling salesy. They promoted me really quickly. They started moving me around all of their locations because they noticed that customers were happy when they were dealing with me. They were not complaining about, she's trying to sell me something. They felt I'm protecting them from a car accident, from touching their insurance during anything, if anything happened. So and then eventually they moved me to like a very high end where they have, all the high end vehicles, Range Rovers and plus better. And I'm like, oh, that's a totally different customer. They don't care about saving money. Like, what's important to that person, right? What's important to them is time. So I figured out really quickly how to sell to that group of people. Every customer is different. But because of my observation, what's working, what's not, like I tweaked it. And so that's kind of my story. It's like I've always been in sales and then moved up to pharmaceutical sales. And the reason why is because I would, as an enterprise employee, I would always take these pharmaceutical reps whose cars broke down to go and rent them a car. And I'm like, you guys have the easiest job in the world. What the heck? I want that. So I broke into that industry, which everybody told me, you can't get into pharma. Like, you have to know somebody in order to get in.
You're
I'm
like,
like,
watch
I'll
me.
prove you wrong. Like, no, that's not the case with me. So I got in, and like within, I think 6 months, I got promoted to management. I don't know how that happened, but I did. They moved me to Phoenix from Kansas City. And that's when my journey began. It was crazy, but I was now selling. I thought I was still selling to doctors and teaching my reps how to sell. But what I learned in the process is that my customer has changed, because I was really good at sales. So I was trying to force my team to do what I do to be a good salesperson. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's when I started thinking, who is my customer right now? My customer is not a doctor. My customer are my reps that rely on me. And when I realized that, that's when it really clicked for me, like leadership, and like my team would go through the fire for me. I've never had anybody quit because of how I made them feel. And I'm like, listen, no matter what job I've ever done, there's a common denominator that stands out. It's I know how to treat people in a way that they feel so good. They want to do business with me. They want to work for me. Doctors want to learn from me. They want to use my drugs. Well, whoever that is, I care about them as a person. They see that I see them. They see that I'm not pushing or shoving something down their throat. My reps were my family. They knew they can rely on me. They knew I'll cover for them. I don't know how many managers you have that will cover their mistakes instead of firing them. I'm like, let's just not tell anybody up there about this, Like, they trusted me. And I was able to go from I took over a district that was the last one in the country. And we won an award within I think, year and a half, top 3 districts in the country. And no, thank you. But what it wasn't me. I hired a bunch of people. I knew nothing about how to be a leader, but I poured into them. And in return, and this will lead me to short-term rentals, in return of me pouring everything into them and giving them so much, they felt obligated to give something to me. So they went to work and worked very hard for me because they wanted to make me proud. They wanted me to stand on that stage and accept that award. They did it more for me than they did it for themselves. I mean, they came along with me and they were on the stage accepting awards as well. But I realized that it doesn't matter what business you're in. I love hospitality. I love short-term rentals. That's my passion. I love real estate. So I apply it right now in my consulting to short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, any of that, right? Real estate. But it really doesn't matter, because what the common denominator is how you make your customer feel. Yeah. They're going to reciprocate. It's the law of reciprocity, which is such a huge thing that most people don't get, is whatever you give, you're going to get back. And people, it's a natural human reaction. Like, we don't necessarily want to, but we feel obligated, and there's some companies that use that as a tactic when they sell. I don't know if you guys have ever received like envelope with address labels labeled with your name, and all they ask is for little donation. And you feel like, dang it, I have to donate because like they send me something. I have my labels. Like, I either throw them away. I don't ever use them because I feel like I would feel guilty every single time I put this label on my letter, like without giving them money, I would feel guilty. If you're like a normal average human being with human emotions, like you just feel guilty if you don't give back. And they know that. So the power of reciprocity is very strong when businesses know about it, they use that, right? If I give you something, you give it back. And for short-term rentals, the way I apply it is the more I set up my place to cater to your needs, and the more I give you as far as service, you will feel the need to give me something back. And what is short-term rental live and die by? Reviews. If you don't have 5-star reviews on Airbnb, you're out of business. You won't survive very long. And I can give you a million examples of that. But when you do provide that service to your guests, when you do cater to their needs and love on them and, treat them as a special guest that they are, instead of a number, like it's all just about money. Okay, you coming, you going, next one is coming. I don't know who you are and I don't care. They feel it. They know it. It's visible.
Marta, your story is amazing. I mean, we spoke a little bit, got to know one another. There's so many things you're talking about, and I talk about it all the time when it comes to networking. Let people know who you are so that others can look and go, oh my gosh, she's just like me. Well, everything you're saying right now is like, oh my gosh, she's just like me. So I'm looking forward to following up with you later and really talking and getting to know one another even more, because our stories are a little bit similar. But it's amazing to hear what you've done and coming to a new country, learning a new language, having been introduced to hospitality, and understanding that, you know, what you do is leading others, teaching others, and that's of giving of your heart. And you're now showing others how to do that. I mean, you become a brand expert, a brand reputation expert. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I believe, so this is the thing, I usually teach about short-term rentals, but this applies to anybody. It doesn't matter what you guys do. Let's say you're a wholesaler or private money lender, or you borrow money, or it doesn't matter what you do. The second you start interacting with your customer, whoever that is, you are building your brand reputation. Whatever your brand is, you may not even consider yourself a brand, right? Because you may not have a logo, or you haven't started your LLC. So you're like, oh, it's just me. I don't have a brand. You are a brand. You and your name and your interaction, you are starting to build your reputation. And I think so. I'm both a lender, and I raise money, and I do so many things in the community, and I interact with so many people. And, you know, let's say you raise money. If you don't have your customer's best interest at heart, right? You borrow money from a lender, but you're like, well, I lost money. Sorry. I mean, what can I do? You know, like the deal didn't work out. If you go with that approach, your reputation that you're building is of somebody who's not reliable, right? And you will continue with that, even though you think it's not your fault, right? Let's take responsibility on our own shoulders and understand that at the very beginning, as you're building your foundation, people are watching, observing. Let's say you borrow money, lenders are all talking. We all talk, like we all talk amongst each other. If somebody got burned by one person in business, whatever it is that you do, wholesaling, you rip them off on a fee or whatever, the house is not what you promised, like your reputation precedes you, people talk about it, and they will, eventually you're going to go out of business. So with reputation, to me, it's not just short-term rental, it's any business. Like you have to start, you need to know, like, what is it that you stand for? What are you trying to build? And start interacting with your customer, knowing that they're watching you, they're observing, and they want to see how you show up to them. Are you a person of integrity? Are you going to do whatever it takes, you know, to return their money, to get the deal done? Sometimes you're going to lose. But like I even watched Vina Jerry talk to Cody Sperber. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Cody Sperber borrowed money from Vina, and the project failed, and he didn't make any money. And he could have easily said to Vina, listen, we lost money on this deal. I don't know what to tell you. But he thought about it hard, and he's like, not only am I going to return your money, but I'm going to pay you the interest that I told you I'm going to pay. And Vina says, I'm glad you did. That was the right thing to do. Because what would happen at this point with Vina and who she is right now, how quickly would the news spread that don't do business with Cody? You never know who you're dealing with, right? Like they can go and tell a lot of people about bad experience they had with you. Same thing with short-term rental. One bad review can completely ruin your business. You know, I have perfect example for it. We're probably going to run out of time. If you want, I can share it. But every single interaction, you're building your customer loyalty, or you're tearing yourself down.
Like a pyramid. You're building your foundation. Hey, we have a couple of questions I wanted to run past you. Why do you think hospitality is so important in short-term rentals?
To me, short-term rentals are hospitality. Like it's the same thing. Not until I joined Sub2 community that I understood that not everybody that's getting into short-term rentals is doing it because they love the interaction with customers. I see now that a lot of people do it because it's profitable, you know? So they do it because they have a deal and they're like, okay, it doesn't work for long-term. It doesn't work for mid-term. It has to be a short-term. Well, what do you know about short-term rentals? Nothing. But it works number-wise. I'm like, okay, great. So now let's learn about short-term rentals and what you're actually doing, because you are in hospitality business. even though you think you're in money-making business, but you're in hospitality. So if you don't know how to do it, then I recommend either learn more about it or hire somebody who knows. And unfortunately, because I've done it for many years, it's very hard to find a good property manager that actually understands. So to me, what is hospitality and short-term rentals? First of all, I think of a guest like in a good old way, like a mom and pop bed and breakfast almost, except for I'm not cooking you breakfast. But it is the same concept. Initially, when you went to bed and breakfast, you expected that special treatment, right? Like that's what you're going for. I was never into it because I didn't want a theme of like, strawberries in one room and whatever. Like it was not ever my thing. I like more luxury. But the feeling that people go there for is because they want a unique experience and they want to be treated well and they want that interaction with the host. Well, we all went away from that. Now it's like check-in is all done without any interaction with the host, right? Everything is automated. So people teach you like automate all your systems, automate everything. That's great. You want to have some automation, obviously, because you can't do it all. But if you automate everything in your business, then you're pretty much automating your interaction and they know it's not you and they don't feel welcome. So to me, automation is great, but you don't even understand how many people lost my business because I travel all the time. I travel at least once a month. I'll send a message to a host. I'm renting $2,000 per night beach place, right? And I'm asking them, hey, is there room to park my Tahoe? Yes, we are available for your dates. No. I was asking, is there any room? Because in California, it's tough to find spots, right? Like, do you guys have room in a driveway to park a large car? We'll get back with you, but we are available during your dates and we welcome you. And they never get back with me. And I'm like, well, I can't go there if you don't answer my question. I have a large vehicle. And that happens all the time. They're not willing to have an interaction with the guest. How many people lost my business when I would go once for a vacation for a month to New York? And I asked them, hey, I know it's a lot to ask for, but I need blackout curtains because I have a little toddler and she needs to sleep. I'm going to pay for the curtains, pay for the handyman, and I'll allow you to keep my curtains if you just allow them to install it for me. The answer is always no. They always say no. I was willing to pay for a TV to get it installed, get the cable turned on, all of that. I said, you can keep my TV, but I'm there for a month and I just want more than one TV in the room. And they always say no. And I'm like, that's not hospitality. Hospitality is you meet your customers' needs and you do everything above and beyond to satisfy them so they want to come back to you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But we want repeat business. It's hard to get new customer, but repeat business is easy. If they have that feeling that with you, I really had a great experience. I loved everything. You went above and beyond. I want to come back and I want to tell all my friends, hey, if you go to New York, this is the place to stay.
Yeah. Hey, Marta, we got somebody with a question. Let me bring them on here. Sean Baxter, you are on with Marta Miner. What's your question?
Hey, Marta. Thanks for all your nuggets and wisdom and everything like that. I'm going to plug you and all your knowledge that you do with Hung and Mamadou on your podcast. So if anybody is needing more information, it's a great podcast to jump onto.
Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you're watching. We have a lot of fun with Mamadou and Hung. It's like a fun. I told them we need to call ourselves Three Amigos, but they don't want to go for that. I'm like, why not?
You should still work on it. But my question is do you, or you kind of just went through it with the curtains and the TV and stuff, do you ask your guest, like, hey, is there any special needs or anything I can do to make your stay better? And does that help or does it just cause more problems?
Okay. So what I do with my personal rentals, not everybody looks at everything the way I do. I'm extremely picky. I don't know why I was given eyes that see everything and every detail. But the way I go through setup of my house is I provide everything so they don't have to call me and say, oh, you don't have curtains, or you don't have a TV. Hey, do you have any extra forks? You only put 4 in here. I think ahead of time. So first of all, I create avatar of my customer. Who is my customer? Because if it's a mom traveling with children, if you're catering to families, you're going to do a setup of your Airbnb very differently than if you're catering to bachelors, if you're catering to a business traveler. So you always think about that, like, who is my customer? And once you know that, you know, for me, it's easy. And I actually do a Zoom right now with the sub. Are you in sub 2, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm doing a series of Zooms for sub 2, and I go through every single detail you need in your rental, every single thing. I actually am analyzing and auditing Mamadou's rental, which he was so gracious to allow me, because sometimes it's funny, you know, certain things that we do when we don't know better. So he allowed me to do that. And if you want to go back to the vault and watch it, I go through everything. Curtains is a must-have. I would never put out a product without having blinds, curtains, and some way for your customer to dictate if they want to wake up early or not. You know what I mean? Then TV in every single room. To me, it's a must when I rent, but not to every customer. Depends who is your customer. I'm more of a luxury customer. So if I'm spending $2,000 with you per night and you have one TV for a 5-bedroom house and you don't have curtains, I'm like, I feel ripped off, you know? Depending on who your customer is, like, you're going to have certain amenities. But I also come from, I didn't have money back in the day, and I still like nice things. And I think no matter who your customer is, they still want to feel special, you know? So with a luxury customer, it's a must because they're used to it at their home. So if you don't have something, they're going to complain right away. Yeah. They're also used to staying at Ritz-Carlton and all of these places. So they're going to compare and be like, no, that's not how I want to be treated. I personally believe hospitality is for everybody. It's not just for luxury clients. I don't understand why you have to go to Ritz-Carlton to be treated well. I don't understand that. I treat everybody the same, whether they spend $5 with me or $1,000 with me. But you're not going to maybe get as many complaints from somebody who's not used to being treated very well. But what you will get is a wow factor for them. They'll be like, whoa, I don't even have that in my own home. And you have rugs, you have this, you have all these cool things. I love staying with you. So you can always reach out to me. We can chat about your specific if you have a situation that you're not sure about. But I start with setup. I set up everything the way I would want to be treated. Stay in your own short-term rental or whatever you have, boutique hotel or whatever you're doing. Stay there first and see how comfortable you are. Because then you're going to be like, oh, I only put 3 glasses, but I'm really, you know, I can sleep 10 people. I forgot, like, they may need more glasses, or, you know, I don't have any chargers or plugins in this house. Like, I just realized I need to put more plugins. There is no furniture to sit outside, but I'm offering a house with a patio, but then I forgot that they need to do something on that patio. So stay in your own place and be a guest and be like a demanding guest. Like, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's picky like me. I'm very picky. One thing that you'll know about me, though, I'm the best guest you can have because I'll never leave you a bad review ever. I just had a horrid experience that this guy deserves to be out of business, and I still didn't leave him a bad review because I'm like, karma will take care of you. I don't need to ruin your business. Like, you just do you, but one guest can ruin it all for you, you know? So that's what's set up. And then what do? I ask them and I let them know my goal is to provide 5-star service to you. You need something that's 5-star, you come to me first. Don't wait till the review time. You know what I mean? Because then they're going to say, well, some people don't want to bother you. They'll say, you know what? Like, this and this was wrong, but like, they didn't want to complain, and they'll just leave you a 3-star. And I'm like, no. You tell me if I can do anything, and I will. If they tell me, you know what? The plumbing was like, is old and whatever. I don't know. They can complain about anything. I don't care. I'll make sure that I satisfy. That's what I learned from Enterprise. How can I satisfy your request plus do something better? That's what Enterprise teaches. Are you fully satisfied with your rental? Is it a 5-star rental? No. What can I do to make it better? You can give me $10 discount. Here is 10 plus a coupon for next time. That's what you do. You do that plus something. When you do that for people, they're giving you a 5-star review, 100%. And they will come back and they'll tell friends about you.
Justin, you are on with Marta Miner. What's your question?
Hey, Marta. So first of all, thank you so much for spending your time with us and dropping all these gems. It was amazing. Little aside, we had a Polish au pair when I was younger for my brother. My mom hired her, and she was major influence on my life because she came same situation, communist, and she would remind me all the time how easy we had it. So anytime I was a little kid complaining about stuff, I could count on, her name was Yola. I could count on her to tell me like, you need to
appreciate. Yeah. Appreciate what you have. Yes. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you. Appreciate you. So my question is sort of for people who are new to this space, people just getting into this space, what's your advice to someone who's trying to learn this? Obviously subscribe to your podcast, but what else would you
you mean like in short-term rentals?
Yeah, in short-term rental space.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like you need to know and pick location, and is that what you're asking for, like, or specifically to hospitality?
Specifically to the short-term rental, I guess for both, for hospitality and short-term rental, is there like a specific, is there any good training that you could recommend? Anything that someone brand new to the space could maybe look at?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that you can find if you just YouTube. Like nobody talks about hospitality that I'm familiar with.
Right.
Nobody that I've seen talks about that aspect of it. They teach you how to get started, how to find your first rental. Nobody really teaches much about like setup and doing it on a higher level. I think a lot of people just say, spend as little money as you can, get this couch from grandma, this one from yard sale. And to me, that's not necessarily how it works, because you can spend the same little amount of money and do it professionally, develop relationships with maybe like a local designer, maybe even find somebody who's in college and wants to do it on the side. Find somebody in the community, if you're in sub 2, that does it for a little bit less money. I'm going to eventually offer all of these services. I'm working with like really people that really get it. I'm not going to just promote somebody who I don't think is to the level that I expect. But if you're a guy and you want to stand out, because it's oversaturated market, it is so oversaturated that a lot of people are getting out of it because they're like, I thought it's easy. Well, it used to be. It's not anymore.
Yeah.
So to me, what will make you stand out is you can either make it different in some way, like invest in a designer that will pull a cool theme, like make it super cool. So people look at it and they're like, wow, I want to stay with you. Mm-hmm. If you can't afford that, then you have to really scale. You have to invest in learning hospitality and do extra things for that guest. Because, I save a lot of times examples of like really bad design, bad everything. And I actually saved a lady in New York that it was horrid the way she had her stuff designed. Horrid. Like pictures were horrible. The stuff was horrible. And she had 5-star reviews. Wow. And I'm like, what is happening here? So I looked through all of her reviews, and what she was doing is she was taking her guests, like, touring the whole New York and showing them everything. And there was a specific guest that would stay there, obviously, right? Yeah. But if she only showed the product and didn't offer the service, she would not probably get great reviews. She went above and beyond to make it like special for her customers. Right. And she stayed in business. And I checked, like, because I save them. And then most of them, if I see something that's a bad product and then I go back to try to audit it later, usually they're out of business. They go out of business quickly. This lady stayed in business. So it's either this or that or both if you can, great design, something unique and different. Who is your customer? Find your avatar and then cater to them and show them that you really care. Use like their name when they check in. Put, hey, Justin, thank you for staying with me. Please let me know. Like that stupid thing, like having somebody's name makes them feel so special. Special, it's so easy to do. Yeah. Your cleaner can just write it.
100%.
Yeah. And then everything else, reach out to me if you have specific questions. Like I always want to share, like I love talking about this subject, so you can't bother me enough.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely will. And I'm going to check out your podcast. I haven't seen your podcast yet, but I'm going to go check it out for sure. So
thank you. It's me and Mama Do. It's not just my podcast. We kind of collaborate, but also the sub 2 series. I'm doing 4-part series that I pretty much just give you guys everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Justin, thank you. Marta, I think one of the things that I find really, really interesting in your topic of the hospitality application of short-term rentals is you're making the experience so much more personal and catering to the actual customer and making it a special experience. I and I can see that coming from you because you're so genuine in your heart and in your personality and how you present yourself that I could totally see that this is your gift of not only treating others this way, but showing the community, as you say, putting the series together for Sub 2, having your podcast, but leading by example. And I think that's one of the things that makes you a mastermind student, is that you're the next level. And for me as a friend of yours. I so appreciate you. Got a couple of the questions. Bryce Bush, you are on with Marta Miner. What's your question, Bryce?
First, thank you, JJ. First of all, I appreciate your time and congratulations on all your successes. And I have a question specifically about business, not hospitality or short-term rentals. I know it was mentioned that you have kids and things like that. And my question was more around how do you balance the business load and the life positively? And if you have a significant other, do you do business with your significant other, or do your business affect your relationship by chance?
This is tough for me as a mom, because as a mom, like we value and cherish every minute we spend with our children. I only have one child. She's 4.5. And my husband has 4 kids, but they're grown, from previous marriage. But to me, it was the biggest guilt-inducing thing to get back full time into doing real estate and consulting and all that stuff. How many kids do you have, Bryce? Do you have kids?
None, no.
None. Okay. So just keep doing everything right now. Just go hard right now, because when you do have children, the guilt that sets in, like I just came back from the mastermind, there were grown men crying there, talking about how horrible it is to have to choose, like they want to have more time with their family, but they also need to play really hard in order to meet their goals. So I always tell anybody who doesn't have kids, like, just go hard right now, like go as hard as you can. And then maybe you can slow down a little bit. But for me, like, first of all, I brought my daughter into what I'm doing as much as I can. I try to bring her in. I try to explain to her what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. At her level, like when I started, she was maybe 3. She barely could understand, but she knew the word boss. And I was telling her, you and I will be bosses together, baby. So mommy is building a business so you can be the boss. And she's like, oh, good. I want to be a boss. So that, that little thing kind of made her understand like what I'm doing and why I'm trying to do it. And as much as I can, I explain to her, mommy bought apartment building. Baby, do you know what that means? Are we moving there, mommy? I'm like, no, but other people get to move there, baby. And every time I buy a house, I show her. And she says, are we going to live in that house? And I'm like, no, baby, but you know what? Another little girl just like you can live there. And because mommy bought it now, now she can live there. So as little as she understands, I'm trying to pull her in. I try to bring her. I brought her last night to after the mastermind, we had like a little meetup. There were Vina Jerry brought her kids. So I brought Sophie, little doses, because, they don't understand. But I hire a lot of coaches, very high-end coaches, that I try to work on my mindset with this, because this is the hardest thing for me in real estate. The hardest thing is the time away from my daughter. And sometimes I just sit down and I'm like, what future do you want for your daughter? Who do you want her to be? What opportunities do you want to leave behind? I want to leave a portfolio. I'm an older mom. I had her when I was a little bit older. So I don't know how long I'm going to be here, so I need to set up her and her business in a way that she can be successful and she can take over something, legacy, right? And she can help me build that legacy. So that's how I noticed that anybody who is involved high level with real estate, like brings their kids with them. Pace has his kids at every event. They're so used to it, Vina brings her kids. My daughter is not really so good with loud music and all that stuff. Some of the venues that we go to, she's like, no, I don't want to do that. But she understands. And I don't know, I hope that helps a little bit, but the guilt will always be there and you're still ahead of that. So just don't rush into having children or marriage or anything and I do see that there's a lot of spouses that work together. I've never had that. I've always been a solo, never been with anybody who had the same goals or dreams as me. So I've always been solo, but I do see a lot of people that come to masterminds that are couples that do it together. There's like a visionary and integrator. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing, but even if you don't have that, it's okay. You can find your second part in a business. I have a partner that I do everything with, a business partner. People sometimes think that's my husband when they call, because I said my partner, but I'm like, no, he's just a work husband,
Business partner.
Yeah.
So Bryce,
thank you.
That
helps a lot. Yes, for sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Marta, we all have, in one way or another, the challenge of balance. Whether it's a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner in life, having a child, or just, trying to have your own personal life as well as your business life, is just that challenge of having balance. And, you've been very successful in real estate, and obviously you have a wonderful little girl, and you're an absolute fantastic mother. And so it's just a pleasure to see someone like yourself who's able to make that juggling thing take place.
It's definitely juggling. It's not like, oh, I have it figured out. I don't think anybody does. You know what I mean? It's just always going to be a struggle, but you have to have a big picture in front of you. Like, what is it that you're trying to build and accomplish? But I will never choose business over my family. That's me. I see a lot of people that choose that. And to me, family is my number one priority, and business will always come second. So if it comes down to one or the other, I will choose my daughter always.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Family always has to come first. Hey, we've got one more question, then we're going to wrap it up a little bit. We know we had a whole bunch of other questions to ask. Well, let's get this young lady on here. Sevelyn Smith, you are on with Marta Miner. What's your question?
Hi, Marta. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for all these wonderful nuggets of information. I did have a chance to study a little bit about being Airbnbs. And I wanted to get your take on identifying the clients that you're going to serve, because I look at it, if I'm near a hospital, then I'm setting it up so that it might be families who need to come in with seriously ill individuals, or it could be a place for a more medium-term thing for nurse staff. So based on that, I was thinking in terms, and you can tell me, there's general things we have to have, correct? And no matter what, you got to have some spoons, some knives, all that. But there are certain things that are needed based upon the clients. And have you ever thought of talking to the hospital staff or someone to know what their needs are before you set up an Airbnb or a midterm rental?
Yeah, for sure. So because I've been through so many life situations, I kind of know, but I think you're on the right track of going and talking to somebody, and they would actually value you, and you can build business that way, because you can say, I want to serve your customer, whether it's your nurses or whether it's your, what are they called? Patients, right? Yes. So whether it's patients or if it's your nurses, I have a place where it's nearby, and I want to see what is it that they need. I'm going to set it up the way they want it. But I will tell you my own experience. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer, and she was in her final stages of life. And we couldn't find, she was getting treatment here in Phoenix, even though she lives in Missouri. We couldn't find any place that has a recliner. And for somebody who's in extreme pain, she had a breast cancer. She couldn't lay down. She had to recline. There was nothing. We couldn't find anything with a recliner. So certain things like that is when you're catering to somebody who's getting treatment. Let's say you are near the clinic that cancer treatments happen. Those are the things you need to consider. Extra softer pillows that they can lay next to them, right? Reclining chairs. If you're catering to nurses, 100% blackout curtains, because they will be sleeping during the day. Eye masks, potentially. Maybe even try to collaborate with somebody locally that will do food delivery for them, because when they get home really late or early or whatever, maybe there's a delivery. Like, I go about building relationship in the community and helping your client and then somebody else too, because that person that will deliver the food, they'll gladly do that. But your nurse will maybe grocery delivery. Maybe you charge a fee for that. It's not a free service, but it's a service that who can deliver that, and she'll be very grateful. So I definitely think you're on the right track with talking to the hospital, offer your services, give them your business card, and show them like how you're different than everybody else. Nobody else cares to ask. They just present a product and say, here you go. If it works for you or not, that's none of my business. You care. So they're going to promote you.
I've got maybe a part two, another question in there. So we were talking about how to set up based upon the level of client you're serving. And we have Airbnbs, they're in different sections of town. Some may be an A+ section, if some may be a B or C, because there's different levels of individuals who can afford certain things. So from that standpoint, would it be best, when I'm trying to develop my list, to look at, okay, if it's very high end, we'll spend this amount. And then if it's a little bit the same things, but I may have to not be the same high end quality, but not anything that's going to be junk, but something that is going to be usable and can sustain use over a period of time.
For sure. That's what I believe in. I believe that everybody deserves to have the same amenities, but they're just going to be a different price range, right? So just because somebody's spending $80 doesn't mean they don't want wine glasses. They want them. They just maybe don't spend as much money on them, right? Or whatever it is that you provide. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should be able to have blackout curtains or TV or a rug under their feet to feel comfortable, but then you just go for a cheaper product, like maybe IKEA. Now, keep in mind that the cheaper will usually, you have to replace it more, right? So I don't usually necessarily go for like the cheapest of the cheapest, but I go for something that's durable, but on a lower end, right? Mm-hmm. I've worked with designers where I don't understand the pricing that they charge. Like I just truly don't understand. And I have luxury product and lived in luxury homes, and they just charge so much more money that I know I can find cheaper. It's the same look. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be spending 30 grand on a couch. Like, why do I need a $30,000 couch? The same couch is available for $2,500, So I would say with design wise, go on Pinterest and find design, enter whatever you're looking for, business traveler, Airbnb, bachelor party, nurse, midterm rental design, whatever they need, and then go and find products like Wayfair, Amazon, Target, Walmart. They'll have good stuff.
Right.
And you just match similar vibes. So it looks similar to the picture. Check out your competition, because if they're successful and they're in your area, they probably have the same guests as you, and kind of steal ideas from them. It doesn't have to be the same, but similar stuff that you need to put in your Airbnb.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Sevelin, thank you so much. It's always good to see you. Marta, what are a couple more questions? But I think the one I really wanted to get, we talked about a couple of different things, but you mentioned early on mindset, and I wanted to get back into that before we wrap things up. Why is mindset so important in real estate in general, short-term rental, in business?
Because
we talked about branding. So maybe if we talk about branding, I know they're two different topics, but one of the things you talked about was, why is it so important to build a brand reputation? Maybe that's one question separately from mindset, but I definitely wanted to touch on those two topics before we wrapped up.
Yeah. Brand reputation just helps you stay long-term in business. I think anybody can get out there and just sell something for a short period of time, burn through a bunch of people, and have to go out of business. I've built my reputation based on me caring about other people. I don't really care what business I go into. I go carry that everywhere. The way you feel about me, everybody else in the past felt about me, because I'm genuine, and that's my brand reputation. Like, you're not going to see me cheat you out of your money. You're not going to see me take advantage of you. You're never going to see me, no matter what business I do. You have to decide who you are as a person and what kind of values you represent, and your business will become that. So with brand reputation, it helps you with longevity. I can go back 10 years and, call on anybody from my previous life, and they're going to welcome me back. I was the only manager that was allowed to go back with the reps. Sometimes there's signs, no managers allowed. Except for Marta, she can come, because I'm not a manager. I'm just a human being that loves you, and I want to support you. That's what I did. So I was not treated like a manager. I was just treated as a guest, So that's why you build a reputation to stay long-term. Anybody that kind of just thinks they're one and done, like, they'll make money, but very short term. And then eventually people will find out and be like, that person is not trustworthy. This person has cheated me. I didn't have a good experience. And the news spread. And karma, I also believe in karma. So I'm like, just in case, I'm just going to do the right thing, even if nobody's looking, So that's with brand reputation. And what was your other question? The mindset.
Well, mindset. I mean, you and I met at the mastermind. Mindset is something that's frequently mentioned within Sub 2 for those that are not in the Sub 2 community. But for people that are maybe watching on YouTube right now, they're new investors or new to real estate, they're considering one of multiple education platforms, considering being a real estate investor. Let's talk about mindset for a minute. Why is mindset so important?
Mindset will dictate whether you are successful or not and how far you allow yourself to go. I feel like I've spent years working on my mindset, and I'm barely scratching the surface because each time there is a new level, I feel like I come across a wall. And that means, what does that mean? It just means that I need to continue to work to unload the baggage that I carry, because there's some baggage from the past that's not allowing me to move forward. So mindset to me is like, first of all, believing in yourself and understanding that whoever you want to become, that person you admire has been in your shoes before, most of the time, unless you're Vina Jetty. She's never been in your shoes. Vina, I just met her dad yesterday and I love it. And I was just talking to another mastermind student. How would it be to be Vina Jetty, like raised with so much love, adoration, so much like her dad is her biggest fan? I'm like, what is that? Like my jaw drops to the ground. I'm like, that's amazing. Most of us don't have that. We have some kind of a story. There's some obstacles. There's something that happened in our childhood or when we're grown up, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, teacher, somebody scarred us. And if you don't work through that mindset, you get stuck at the level you are and you don't even know that you have issues of that magnitude because you're just used to it. You're like, that's normal. That's just who I am. I didn't know I have issue with this or that. For me, sometimes it takes somebody pointing it out. Did you notice that you have a repetitive pattern with this? I'm like, no, it's not a pattern. It's just coincidence. No, it's not. So the second, I'm a manifester, so I manifest super fast. The second you point something out to me, I'm like, oh, okay, bye with that. I don't want that anymore. And to the next thing. But in order to see those blind spots in yourself, you have to do some mindset work, personal development, and just loving on yourself. Because when we are on this journey, I feel like I personally compare myself to somebody who's higher up, and we feel sometimes inadequate. You feel imposter syndrome. You feel a lot of these feelings, and you have to keep telling yourself that's okay. That's part of the journey. You do deserve to have the life that deep inside behind the closed doors you're dreaming about. If you were given the dream, then that means it's for you. That means that you have everything within you to accomplish that dream, but it's very hard to sometimes connect the dots between where you are and where you want to be. And working on your mindset, I do so many different things, mindset related and personal growth, but Tony Robbins was a big help for me. I went from one day I'm a pharmaceutical rep, and I'm like, I don't want to be a rep. I don't want to be in Kansas City for that matter. I want to move to California. And it was I listened to Tony Robbins. Within 2 months, I was promoted to a manager. And I'm like, how did this even happen? But he had very specific things that he made me do. And the way I think about everything just changed. It can happen quickly. But unless you jump over your own mindset, you're going to be in the same space 10 years from now.
Exactly. Marta, I want to thank you for being on today. We have a couple more questions, but I think we're going to take those into the breakout rooms. I'll make sure that person gets in the breakout room with you. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you? Is it Facebook, MySpace, TikTok, Instagram? What's the best? MySpace. Oh yeah. MySpace is my preferred way as well. But what's the best way for people to reach you?
Instagram is probably the easiest way for me. I check my messages and, I stay in touch with people. I love seeing other people's journeys as well. You can reach me on Facebook or Instagram. I post more on Instagram. I also have my website, martaminer.com. You can always find me on my podcast as well. Come in with any questions you have. So Mamadou and myself and Hung On the podcast, you can come in and ask me any questions you want. Bring your specific situations, whether it's hospitality based or anything else you want to learn. Mamadou is amazing closer. He's a wholesaler. Hung is also an Airbnb, so you can ask all of us. But as far as me, just go ahead and send me messages on Instagram. I really enjoyed this with you guys.
Marta, there's one question I usually ask everybody at the end of the call to wrap things up. But my group's a networking group. I know we talked about a lot of things that relate to that during your presentation today. But what I want to ask you is, for the new investor or for the seasoned real estate investor, seasoned investor, agent, broker, whatever it happens to be, a lot of them are now coming to social media for the first time, joining a group like Sub2 or Astro Flipping or any one of a multitude of education programs on Facebook that each have a Facebook page. People are now, investors are using social media. What is the importance of social media and networking in particular, or joining a group like mine, for the new real estate investor or the experienced investor? What's the importance of networking and of joining a networking group?
The difference is, it's crazy because I did real estate by myself for many, many, many years. And it was so lonely, and I had nobody to run my ideas by. I had pain points that I didn't have anybody to run it by. I was told 100 times by everybody and their brothers, sell your properties, file bankruptcy, because I purchased right before the crash last time around. I didn't have a community. I didn't have anybody. I was so stressed out all the time. When I joined Pace's community, my life changed. It was overnight. It was like so quickly that I started relying on others. Like when you have a problem, there is a solution in a group. There's always a solution. When you need, just like encouragement, there is a solution. There are other people that want to support you. I met you through networking, through being in a mastermind. I've gone to so many events in the past 6 months, everything, business buying, raising funds, Grant Cardone, like I'm everywhere. I'm in every community there is, and they're very different people. I will tell you that you people are amazing. I love your community. Like just everybody I spoke with today, you guys all have like my heart. Like I can feel it, so it's like we attracted each other. I just love everybody I spoke with here. And when you go into a community, you find more like-minded individuals, and they will help and elevate you. When you're starting out, it's a very lonely journey. And if you don't have anybody who's telling you like, yes, you can do it, or you know what, let me introduce you to somebody who does what you want to do. That's what this community did for me. There's not a question you can ask me right now that I don't have the answer for, because I know everybody. Like if I don't know, I'll find out for you tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's insanity, like what this community has done. Like no matter what you need, there's somebody that has it. And most likely I know that person, or I know somebody who knows that person. So put yourself out there, even though like I'm an introvert. To me, events are very draining. Not that I don't love people. It just drains me, because I like quiet and I like being like alone a lot of the time. But I go and force myself. That's my comfort zone that I'm jumping over, like that's a big thing for me, to go to a lot of events, because it drains me so much. There's too much energy. I'm very energy sensitive. So, but I do that because like I would have not met you, JJ, if I didn't go to the last mastermind. And I was sick at the last mastermind. I hope I didn't get you sick, but
No.
Something was coming upon me that I felt horrible, mentally, in every way. And if I didn't go, I would not be speaking to you guys, because I would have never met you. And how do we know we would ever connect in the future?
Yeah.
Maybe never. So
And
that's,
as they say, things happen for a reason. There are no accidents.
It all happens, and you have to push yourself, and it's not convenient, and we don't have time for networking and all of those excuses, right? Yet it's the most important thing that you can do in real estate, at least. I think in every business, but in real estate, you can't go very far without connecting with other people.
Oh, yeah. And thank you for that. That's much appreciated for me, and I know for the people that are watching live on the call and watching on YouTube. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Marta's presentation, like her video. Please put something in the comments what your takeaways were. If you guys are on the call right now, hang on. We're going to go do some breakout rooms and do some live networking as we usually do. And Marta, I want to thank you for being on today. You're absolutely fantastic. I mean, gold nuggets dropping everywhere. And the YouTube should be up. The video should be up on YouTube within about a week. We're looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was so fun.
So, Marta, I guess now we just sort of tell everybody thank you for being here. We'll see them. We'll see them soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.